Well, this morning I want to talk a little bit about reincarnation. It's rather important that we get some kind of an idea about this, because most people get quite upset. Windows of the mind close. Argument begins in a person's mind. They don't want to even think about reincarnation. But if we will ask ourselves, what is life on the planet all about? When we look around, we see such a wide variety of things going on. We find that we're supposed to be created in the image and likeness of God. There's not any one of us sitting in this room look alike. And if we go to China, man, we really get to looking different. So all around the world we have tremendous differences in form. And I ask you to think about this. Must we believe that a God created the earth, created us, and tied us up with a strange craving for food and sex, and then turned us loose and said, now let them suffer and they can beg, but because I'm a God of love, well, if they beg hard enough, I'll save them. They tell us that we have to have a Savior, and they give us a special book that has caused wars and innumerable killings and suffering. And it's presented by those who wish to say what it means to them. And you can get all kind of interpretations. What we need to do is really find out what kind of a God created this mess. Because it is. When we look at it from that point of view, it's a tremendous big mess. Do you know anyone who can live strictly by the Bible as it's put out? I don't know anyone. I've seen a lot of people say they did, and then when I investigate, in behind, out of sight, they do things that you and I are not supposed to do, according to the teaching. In each part of the world, we will find religions that are told, live by this teaching, this secret book, this great Savior, this Messiah, this group, this great, beautiful being who come. If you don't, brother, you had it. Now, who are you going to believe? Who are you going to follow? It depends on where you're birthed. If you're birthed in China, you're going to follow a different teaching. If you're birthed in the Middle East, it's going to be a different teaching. If you're birthed in Russia, it's going to be different. Now, what is it all about? Why is it that we in the world, called the Christian world, think we're the exclusive ones and nobody else has got a chance? Boy, that's some kind of God, isn't it? If you and I was created for the pleasure of a God that created us, to watch us go through all the misery that we generally go through, then as an individual, it's meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. We live on this earth and we're forever changing. You'll find that the body goes through many changes. They say the cell structure changes every 7 years. As we grow, according to our nature, we change. Our environment, we change. If you was to leave America and go to another part of the world and stay for 25 years, you'd change into another concept. We're going to school, and as we learn, we change. Having free will, we have what we call our own speed to move through. There is an unconscious desire in all of us to want to know what we're all about. Now, it can come through voluntarily or involuntarily. We can want it or we can try to dodge it. But someplace along the line, especially when you get close to what we call the death circle, you're going to begin to ask questions. You will want to understand. And common sense tells us that it's impossible for us to come take on a body and in one lifetime, develop enough consciousness to be a complete being. Do you know that there was a time when the female was considered not to have a soul? I have even heard ministers in my lifetime say that the black man has no soul. Everything that lives has a soul. All of us. But what we do with it depends upon us. Each lifetime we come into a physical form to learn about one law. Do you realize that? One law under a lot of principles in which we have to understand and live by. We experience and we learn. But if we fool around, we may spend 10 or 15 lifetimes learning one simple law. It is said that we have to have faith. I looked it up in a dictionary. Belief that is not based upon proof. Not for me. Faith to me is to know and to know that I know because I experienced it. I cannot accept a way of life that somebody tells me just because they have a turned around collar and a big misdemeanor in their voice and says, now you must listen to this. No way, not for me. I want to know the truth. And it tells in the Bible, if we're going to follow that type of scripture, that only the truth can set us free. Spoken words or written matter will not do it. Even as you listen to me and I explain to you the things that I have experienced, they mean absolutely nothing to you unless you travel through the inner consciousness and have the same experiences. Look what they have done to Revelations. Do you know what the book of Revelation is all about? It's John's experiences, that's all. I've had some of the same ones. That's the reason I understand what they're talking about, because inside, as I travel through awakening consciousness, I experience the same thing that John did. It's a story he's telling about his inner initiations of consciousness. But look what they have done to it. The law of continuity. Things move step by step. And after a time, they come to an end. The personality leaves and another page is written in the living soul of your book. Sure, Audley will pass this way but once. That's absolutely true. Audley will not come back. But that which gives Audley life, that which gives Audley the capacity to move and be and learn and develop experiencing consciousness, that shall return again and again and again. And so for you. And it is absolutely true. You can look back and see other lifetimes. It frightened me the first time it happened to me. Because I was told that I should sit in meditation like this, and I should sit straight. Well, my arms got tired. Boy, they hurt. I said, I can't concentrate like this. So Pauline's mother had a great big chair, and I took the cushion out of it and propped up my arms, and I sat way down this cushion. I said, man, this is great. So I started going in chanting. First thing you know, the ribbons of my life started unfolding right in front of me. Started with a gorilla. If you don't think it will frighten you to see a big old gorilla standing right in front of you with eyes piercing with bright lights and just looking at you, wait till you start to learn how to do some of these things. That old gorilla was really frightening me. Jim, one time we was over, my brother, we was over at a friend's house, and so we was going to play some games. So we set up the candles, and Jim looked at Buck, and he turned into a gorilla, and Jim, oh! Paul used to do this a lot. One lady screamed around the house, and she never did come back. So yes, you can go back in time. Go back into the Akashic records. You can find out that you've lived before. You can see all the different bodies and forms. You can even slow it down and go through a whole lifetime. But it's not advisable. There's a veil drawn so that you won't go back and pick up the better parts and live a life of ease and laziness. That's the reason it's drawn. Gosh, if I could go back and pick up some of the things I know and bring them into Audley's consciousness, I'm afraid I would do it. I have to say, no, I got to do what Audley came to do. I can't go back and pick up some of those things. Because I can remember some lifetimes when, man, I did some fantastic things. Tremendous power. Beautiful things. And I know that in the future, when it's right, I will do them again. And that's the reason sometimes when you come and then you sit with me and I look inside of you on the fourth initiation, I find an old friend. Beautiful, wonderful old friends. It's so good to be with you again. And sometimes I tell you and sometimes I don't. It's according to how close we were and how much we loved each other and how much we shared as another lifetime. Most people will do what they want to do, and this is all built around the pleasures of the body and the sensuousness. Until the law of necessity comes along and then by some way or some manner forces us to make changes in our life. In the Lotus Center, we want you to learn how to conduct your life in such a way that you become a free being, tied to no one and to no concept. Only one thing, the divine part of yourself. It takes time. It's a struggle. Stop and think. We struggle most of our life to get from a little child. We want to get old enough to do our thing. So we fuss and we complain because we're not old enough to have the car or to go out on dates or to do what we want to do. And then after we get into that period in a little while, then we begin to think, oh my God, I got to find a religion or a church someplace so that I can begin to get ready to die. Just stop and think how it goes. We begin to worry about the wild oats we sowed. We begin to worry about what we call sin. As far as I'm concerned, there's no such thing as sin. There is an indication of sin against the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is the energy field that comes from your divine self, flows through, and it is the host of the atom world. The atom world. That means from this part down, this divine part of yourself is the host of all the life that follows the straight and narrow path down to the physical form and back through these different stages. When you go past the atom world, the whole picture changes. You can get into this white island and you begin to become impersonal. You begin to look down the stream and you can see what's going on. And it's rather funny at first to look down and see a little bitty thing about that high it looks like, way down there dangling on the end of this stream of light. My God, that's me. But this is what does it. This is what gives it. And when we can surrender the consciousness that holds on to this in desire, then we can move through here. And you need a teacher or a guide or a protector, one who can give you an energy field, a force field that will close you in so that you can travel straight through. Otherwise, you'll go up into some of these and go out into some of those levels. Most people, when they die, never get beyond here. They may touch this just a little bit, the divine Christ light, the light of the first movement of form into consciousness, right here. The records is right here. The pattern that you're going to live is right here. When you come back down, after you go through, if you don't go any further than right in here, you're going to look very much like you look this time. You're going to have all the same qualities that you have built, all the same fears, all the same negative aspects, all the same courages. You're not going to change much. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And if you follow the stream, you can find that this is absolutely the truth. And when you know, especially when you get to be around 50 years old, it's very important that we begin to reprogram ourselves to a Freeman state. The first 28 years, we have a job to do, very important job. After that, we can begin to alter our being. And after around 49, the 49th birthday, we really need to make some changes in ourselves if we're not satisfied with ourselves. Because that is our golden opportunity. Man finds his birth in a state of not knowing where he came from or where he's going. You go out and ask somebody, what's going to happen to you when you die? Oh, I'm going to go to heaven. Jesus is going to save me. Stop and think. Christian is going to save me. Mohammed is going to take me to the divine planes. Somebody's going to take me. Buddha's going to take me. Jesus is going to take me. Somebody. Nobody depends upon themselves because they don't know that they have to depend upon themselves. But I guarantee you, when you drop this physical body and you get out there and wander around, there's not any Jesus there and there's not any Buddha there. You begin to cry and you begin to, what do they call it, crashing and grinding of the teeth. All you got to do is open that third eye and watch somebody leave the body. You'll believe me then. I guarantee you. Because you'll see what misery they go through, hanging on to the desires that the personality has built. Why do you think when you lose a member of the family, quite often they'll stay in the house and you'll feel them in the house and they'll upset the whole household maybe. Others that just want to stay and they won't upset anything. Attachments. I remember when Jim and our mother died, Betty and Pauline went back over to the house and she was still there. Now she was very possessive and she didn't like us boys getting married. She didn't like that at all. And when Betty and Pauline went in there, she was still there. And boy, they came running out of that house and ran up the alley. They wasn't about to go back in there because she's still there. And there's plenty of case histories about people who had to have their house cleaned up. But if a person is kind and gentle and just wants to stay close to the family, don't bother them. Just let them stay. And every once in a while, turn to them and say, Dad, Mom, brother, sister, whatever the case may be, say, you're welcome as long as you don't disturb the household. We don't mind you being here. But why don't you look inside and see a beautiful light out of the top of your head? And why don't you ask to go to that light? Because there's your freedom. As long as you stay down here wandering around as an earthbound, you're going to have the same miseries, the same desires, the same anguish, but you have no body to express it with. That's why suicides are so pitiful. Oh, they're so pitiful. Tell them to look for the light inside. Everybody has the light. Everybody. Those that don't have the light, well, they go to another place. I've seen that too. It's called a Vichy. It's so horrible no one wants to talk about it. Even Master K.H. won't even explain it. So I had to look. Damn me. But see, I just have to know firsthand on these things. I don't like to take anybody's word on anything. We are here to develop what is called a living soul state of consciousness. Each lifetime you come in, you will add to that soul pattern. Now you will either add something beautiful and magnificent, or you'll add something sad and depressive. We ask, if I've lived before, why can't I recall it? Boy, I used to say this over and over to Paul and Dr. Thin. You say I lived before? How come I don't know? Not to Dr. Thin, but Paul, because by the time I met Dr. Thin, I had already looked back into the Akashic records. But I asked Dr. Thin to take me I wanted him to take me up here. I said, take me up here and let me wander around, because I was afraid to go. I'd been out there and got shook up a couple of times. And he said, well, do you want to go there? They're just as dumb there as they are here. He says, listen to me. Get them crazy ideas out of your mind. And he never would explain a thing. He just said, listen to me. And so I listened. How many of you can recall at this exact time, 10 years ago, what you was doing? Well, if you can't, maybe he's dead. At least we can say he was dead and didn't know it. No, we are set up so that we can't remember everything. If you could remember every little bit in your life, what could you do about now? Your head would be so cluttered and so full of stuff that you would just, well, east side of Norman, here I come. That's what happens to people. They get lost in the mind. They're not insane. They're lost in the mind. And if you can bring them back out of that lost situation, they can become what we call rational again. They begin to live in the now. And that's the reason that, for me, the greatest sin, one against the Holy Ghost, and the other is to live in the past. Remember, Master Jesus says, "Get thee behind me, Satan. Get thee behind me yesterday." Forget it. Everybody worries about guilt. If you get to where you can touch this, and then you take the power of this and bring it back here and become a magician, you'll get cut off in time, according to how bad a good magician you become. But you will get cut off. And when you get cut off, you're full of darkness. And the only way you can get life then is to suck it off of somebody else. And don't kid yourself. There's plenty of them around. And if you're greedy and looking for a windfall, if you're looking for an easy way, if you're looking for somebody who's going to do it for you, you're a target for them. And you can find plenty of records of happening. But if you say, no, I want to serve my God, I want to develop my own consciousness, I want to become my own divine being, I want my own divine Christ consciousness, they can't touch you. Oh, they'll come around and try. They fool you with all kind of imagery. I remember years ago, about 25, 30 years ago, they used to throw gold watches and gold coins on a beach for me. And like an idiot, I'd go pick them all up. And I'd get them in my arms. Boy, I'm rich now. And then it all disappeared. And that booger would come through my ear and say, "We can give you all this if you'll just come with us." And they scared me. I remember one of them coming down the hall. Clomp, 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 clomp. I said, "Get out of here." They jumped right on my chest and beat me and beat me and beat me, trying to get me to go on that path. Oh, there's lots of power on that path. You can do a lot of strange and magnificent things in the field of what we call manipulation of forms, but you're going to pay one hell of a price. I want nothing to do with it. So when they come to you, and a beautiful lady for you guys and a beautiful man for you lady, if they, or did I say it right? Anyway, if they if they come and they offer you their body, "Hey, come on, man, I'll give you something you've never had before," you just say, "No, I don't need that," and don't think they won't come. Well, I've had some beautiful looking ladies on the other side come and offer me magnificent specimens of form. And when you say no, they turn into a snake and trying to scare me. Some of them scared the hell out of me too. That's the reason I don't want you to have to do that. That's the reason I give you my light, put it around you, and take you up to the Christ consciousness. And then take you on into your God consciousness. And after you have established yourself well enough, now you can come back, if you want to play here in the second physical and the astral records. If you want to get into cosmic mind, if you want to get into the first movement of cause, go ahead, have some fun. Then come back and ask me to straighten you out. You will. You will. Yes? No question?
You were talking about that we don't remember everything from our past, but we do remember some things in the relationships that we have with others. We remember them differently than the people who we're having the relationship with. You know how? Why does everyone remember their experiences different?
Well, what happens is We don't actually remember, but we get an impression of remembering. Have you ever met a person that felt like you have known them a long time? You've known them someplace, but you just can't place them? And haven't you met some people and say, oh my God, I got to get away from that person. Well, these are the things that happen to us, but they're impressions of memory. Now, if we stay in a relationship with that individual, it'll begin to bleed through and we'll begin to remember bits and pieces. Now, you will have to remember from your position, and the other person has to remember from their position, plus what you have picked up as a personality for this lifetime, and what you have also picked up from the divine soul, the oversoul. So you have a slice of the oversoul, you have a slice of the Akashic records, mixing itself together, coming back into a body, and then working through, we call karma, or dharma, both of them. Karma is of the old, dharma is of the new. Now, you meet somebody who you had a real passionate love affair with. Now, if it turned out well at the end of life, when you meet them, you want to have another one with them. If you've had a ugly hate thing, then you may be afraid of them, fearful of them. But you may even be born into a family where you were associated with one of the members of the family as a daughter, or it may be even as a husband or wife in another lifetime. And there's things for you to straighten out. And this will cause strange phenomena. We have to try to understand that nothing is just accidental. It's all by law. And when we do, then we can handle it. If there's something that needs to be finished up, it's best to finish it up and then go on. If there's something that needs to be completed, complete it and stay together. Only you can tell this. Oh, a soul doctor can look back and tell too. But a soul doctor's not interested in spending all of his time taking everybody and going through their whole pattern and laying it out for them, because it's your job to make those decisions, right or wrong, make your mistakes and learn. Yes?
What if in your relationships in families you're forced to come into people that, or somebody that you can't deal with at all? Is it best just to completely annihilate that relationship, or does that mean that you haven't worked it out?
Well, first, let's say you're not forced. When you review, you finally leave the earthbound, what is called an earthbound consciousness. You finally leave. See, the physical body is very easy to get rid of. It degenerates in 30, 60 days it starts, unless you put it into a lot of formaldehyde and stuff like that. Then it'll lay there and all the cells. It takes a long time sometimes to get rid of it. But most people, in a general sense, for myself, I want cremated. Because I don't want to be tied to Audley's memory pattern or any of his desires or any of his hang-ups or any of his faults or anything he's ever done. I want, Audley, you're done. Let's get it over with. Cook you and get it out here. I want to go. But we hang on. Now when you come back, these hanger-ons have to be dealt with. And as I tell you, the best way to get rid of it quick is to be impersonal from your Christ consciousness. And if you'll sink yourself in here, you don't have to argue with nobody. Somebody comes in and says, that's devil worship. Well, might be. Strange thing, I don't have any devil in my mind. It must all be in yours. You keep it, I don't want it. And then shut up. You'll make them awful mad at you, but they get mad enough, they'll eat fried chicken and leave. But if you argue with them, if you try to prove yourself, all you've done is opened one of the doors for them to attach themselves, and then they've got you, and they'll worry the hell out of you. They will. I watch you guys and gals come up sometime, and you say, I'm having an awful time. I look at you and I find images in the sacred centers. I look in there and that face in there. Really trying to scare me off. I said, oh, God bless you. You know better to be in there. Get out. So I have to do a few things to get them out. I said, now go home. And, of course, home is where their consciousness came from. And so you make it go back. Get it out so that it doesn't hurt people. Don't you remember Jesus when that little boy was screaming and yelling like he was crazy, and they said, the boy's gone insane, let's kill him, or something like that. And Jesus went over and touched him and said, now you get out of here and leave the boy alone. And the boy became sane and a sweet kind of a young man. And the father came over and said, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you for helping my son. All he did was run an earthbound out of the body. That's all. No big deal. Just not really. We live too much in the past. We hang on to mom and dad. We really do. All of us have. I did too, so I can talk about it. We're afraid to get out there. Now, some of us are better off than others because we get kicked out. Mom and Dad said, man, I've bought you enough hamburgers. You go get some on your own. Go. Well, that's the best thing that ever happened to you. If you can concentrate, and that's why we give you all these different things to do, is to develop your concentration. You can't accomplish anything unless you learn to concentrate. Why? Because planet Earth is number 4, and that's the mental expression, and we have to develop mind over matter before we can leave this particular system. Mind over matter. Now you can't develop that unless you can concentrate. And when you can do that in the simple ways we give, then you can leave the physical matter, the 3-dimensional, which is length, width, and breadth, and we step into the 4th dimension, which is the space around the 3 dimensions. And if you keep on, you can go to the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and on. These are dimensional states. Right on planet Earth, there are 7 dimensional states. If you step from here over here, this door closes, and here's a whole new world. Beings of a different order. You step over here one more, and there's flying saucers unimaginable. Well, they're all over the place. Beings of a higher intelligence. They have planet Earth as their space and time, their place to live. Now we can go crazy and do a lot of foolish things, but we're not going to destroy planet Earth. The surface might change a little bit. They don't care if you want to destroy the Earth, make yourself take a big swim and you can't get out of, that's up to you. Or if you want to burn it up, that's up to you. But they're not going to let you destroy it. They can't interfere with our foolishness, but they can stop us from throwing it out of orbit. They've already done it once, and I had the privilege of watching what happened. So I know that's not going to be done. And when they say the end of the world is coming, it's the end of a period of time. We're going to go to a new school. We have to go through these schools. The creative self, that is our God self, enters the body for one purpose only, and that's to build consciousness into the soul. Now, stop and think. All nature expresses reincarnation. The morning and the night, it comes and goes. It comes and goes all the time. Spring, summer, fall, winter follow each other over and over and over. Flowers, they bloom, they plant their seeds, they die. They bloom, they plant their seeds, they die. Fruit, come to trees over and over and over. You and I go to sleep at night, we wake up in the morning. We go to sleep at night, we wake up in the morning. Same thing with birth and death. We drop our physical body, we review it. Remember Benjamin Franklin, bless his heart? Beautifully awakened man. He even put on his monument. I can't quote it, but it said something. The book is finished, and now it will be closed, and I'll go and edit it and come and rewrite it. He's talking about coming back for another lifetime. This, if you could sit down, take your consciousness, go inside, tune yourself to the straight and narrow path, step into it, take a breath, take off. Go right through the top of the head. I remember we was in Vermont. I was going to art school, taking some special art in the monument business. And the first time I ever popped out of the body. Boys don't think the first time isn't an experience. I was just laying there in the bed, kind of letting my mind have drifted off, and I didn't think of anything, and I went zoop, and here I was standing over there looking at me laying in the bed. Holy cow, what happened to me? And I got to going, leaving that body so easily and so freely that I said, I can't do my job if I don't stay in the body. If I'm going to be out of the body all the time, that poor thing don't operate. It just lays there. So I said, Father, you got to help me. I'm popping out of this thing too much. Give me some control systems to where I can leave it when I want to and stay in it when I need to. All you have to do is pop out of your body one time. It'll take the fear out of death. You do it every night when you dream. Everybody comes out of the body about 3 or 4 feet. Some will stay right over the body, and you'll dream like crazy. If you'll just say, if you come out and say, Father, I want to become one with you, you'll just shift over here, and you go into the light. Now that's tough, isn't it? All you got to do when you start going to sleep, Father, I want to become one with you. I want to rest now, and let me become one with you. And you just shift over, and you go right into the light, and the body gets a real good, nice rest. But when you're like me, you have to go out all night working. It isn't so easy. And I work more at night than I do during the day. Many of you know that I do. When you call me, if you're my beloved one, I have to come to you. I have to help you if you're in trouble. I do that through the atom body. It has the power. It has the force. It has the greater knowledge than Audley. So when I go to bed at night, I go to my Christ. I say, Christ, I need to go and pick up my atom body and come back to the Christ consciousness. Say, now I must help my devoted ones because I have dedicated my life to help those who have come to find the truth about life. So I'm busy most all night long. When we come to this idea that hell and heaven are conditions of mind and not places. They are not places. They are conditions of mind. I have watched this through most people, watched them die, watched them travel at night, because, see, I want to know what's going on. And I have entered into people's heaven worlds. I've entered into their hell worlds. And for the most part, in the human family, there is no hell, there is no heaven, only a condition of mind. Unless you sin against this atom body, this God self, which means you'll take this force, bring it down here, and use it against the laws of divine order, which is gentle, kindness, and love. If you use it for greed and selfishness, this will pop. Right here at the top of the head, it will pop. Then you'll go to a place called Avicii. If you are so good in your own mind that you use this divine law to make everybody feel like they're peanuts or less than peanuts, then this will pop. And you'll go into sort of a dharma, into a heaven world for a period of time. Yes?
Audley, I was wondering, you were talking about how at night you, from your atom body, you go and work with your beloved ones or your students. Well, often when you're sick, I wonder how much we drain from you.
On that level, it's different. On that level, there's no drainage.
So when we ask for your help, there's never a chance that we can drain energy from you in any way.
Not unless it's on the physical level. And it's just like Master Jesus when they got him out of the entombment and took him and put all those herbs on him to heal him up. He appeared to the gang and Thomas got up. Thomas, come over. You real? And Jesus stepped back and said, don't touch me. I haven't ascended. He was healing his body. Ascended means to go on and drop the body and ascend on up into these levels. He says, don't touch me. I haven't ascended. Because he would have drained him at that level. He was here in the second physical. He appeared in the second physical, and when he appears in the second physical, you look real. Those of you who've seen some of these beings on second physical, you know Paul says, I met a man that didn't know whether he's in the body or wasn't in the body. Couldn't tell the difference. This is true. Second physical beings, you can't tell. They're as real as they can. There was experience here, a taxi cab driver picked a young lady up downtown, drove out to one of these beautiful mansions, and got out to open the door, and she wasn't there. So he went up and knocked on her and said, I had a lady that asked to come to this address. She got in my taxi downtown, and I didn't stop any place till I got here, and when I got here, she was gone. I said, well, we just lost our daughter last week. And they described it as a daughter. She's still a second physical, and she materialized for him, because you can do that sometimes with great desires. It can happen. We must try to stop guiding our life by another man's interpretation. You know, I tell you over and over, don't believe a thing I say. I don't want you to. If you're going to believe me, the next guy that can come along and shout louder than I can, you're going to believe him. So don't believe me. Prove me wrong. And you can't prove anything unless you experience it. There's no way that you can take a book and prove anything to anybody. That's theory. Oh, you can learn a lot by theory. Sure, you go to college, you learn a lot. But then when you get out of an engineering degree and you get out on the job, them bolts don't fit like that theory said. So you have to learn how to make the theory and personal application work. Same with physical form. Same with divine consciousness. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I've heard that since I was knee-high to a duck. How can I see God? I'm pure. I've been 8 years at the Presbyterian Church. I got all the buttons. Damn, I must be pure. What we have to do is take off the garments. And at the retreat, Father has granted me something new to share with you. And we're going to try to take off your garments. It's going to be a real nice thing. Jesus says, go in the closet and be still. I've seen people go and pray in clothes closets. Well, Jesus told me to do this. The closet is your mind. The garments are the things that you have put on to wear. And we have to take those things off. We have to clean them out. Let them go. When you sit down to meditate, let go. Become one with your divine self. And it's not easy to stop this Model T Ford from running. It makes a heck of a noise when you first hear it. But the law of compensation, you have to realize, sow and reap. If you think, you sow. And as you live, you reap what you think. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Well, you can go out here and run a stop sign and get by with it. But you're not going to get by the law of compensation. There's no way. Get Emerson's book and read it on compensation. Very good dissertation. Very good. What we need to do is realize the law. Put on our Joseph coat. Put on our Christ consciousness. Put on the divine essence. And get the greed out of ourselves. If you're greedy, you'll get caught someplace. The law, eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, is still performing. When you take from someone, you'll have to give back somebody. It's doing it all the time. You can see it. Why do you think some people come in with twisted bodies, with the brains messed up? Accident? No. They came in that way because it's their character. You do not inherit your character from anyone. You bring it with you. Our parents provide us a body, the kind of body that we wish to fill ourselves with, so that we can learn what we come to learn. Now we teach our parents, and our parents teach us, if we're halfway smart. Some of the times we're so dumb that we knock the little kid in the face and tell him to shut up. Don't talk about those things. Little Pilgrim. I get such a kick out of that kid. He couldn't hardly talk, and he come up to me, and he put his little hand up, and Jerry was holding him. He's like this. He's going like this at me. I said, yeah, I see it. I know it's there. He's talking about the light. Boy, he goes into the Buddha light just like that. He's a Buddha. Come down from the upper levels. That's the reason I told Jerry and his beautiful little wife. I said, I got to take care of that kid, don't you? Really take care of him. Got a prize jewel there. There's some others here that have come over from Milano that are in that level of consciousness. Quite a few coming into the Lotus Center. I think that's beautiful. Maybe you don't think it's true. Some of you don't. From the great galaxy Andromeda, it's about to nova. And another 200,000 years is going to all disappear, blow up. Many of us have come over from there. They go other places. They don't all come to planet Earth. They come over in a thing that looks like a bird body. I remember a young lady that was going to school at Norman. She was in with us down at the Y. And every time anybody had a party or any time anybody had to get together, she'd get one of these fountain cups, put it on her face, put a little feather up in her hair, and play like she was a bird. Every time. She'd just come across from Milano and the Andromeda galaxy. She was remembering the fun she had in this particular body as she came across. How do I know? Because I've been back to Milano. I've been back to Sardis. I am from the galaxy. It is where I was birthed and came through and developed my magnitude of consciousness as a ray from Great Supreme. There is so much to learn about life, so much to know. We're told that we're going to just come here and live one short period of time and then take off for heaven. Well, if you want to take off and sit in heaven for eternity, you go ahead. I like to do things. I like to be active. I like to get into the phenomena of form and move about. I'm glad to come and work and help my divine brother and sister move through consciousness and become self-realized. Then they can decide for themselves. We owe no one anything except maybe to give a helping hand when they're ready to receive. But to force somebody, you should not. Don't make someone perform for your pleasure when you learn a little bit about the laws of mind. Don't do it. You'll pay an awful price. Awful price. In each lifetime, you will strengthen or weaken something. You will. You can't help it. It's up to you. Don't blame your parents. It's your own character. If you're not satisfied the way you are right now, then for God's sake, hang around here for a little while and learn a few things to do that will change it for the next time. I have already seen my body. I know what it looks like that I'm coming back to. It's about the same size, a little stronger built. The ears and the nose are not quite as long. And I got a good head of hair. But I asked, I said, what is my next form? And so it came forward to me. But it's time to quit. Got 5 minutes yet. We hear this said that we are going to have to, the parents, the third and fourth generation, the sins are vested on the children. This is not true. What it is, the third and fourth reincarnation that you set up will have to be dealt with. That is absolutely true. Third and fourth time you come back, unless you finish it up in one lifetime. And you can finish it in one lifetime. Just think, I came in to clean up 150, 2 or 3, I forgot, things. I had rickets, I had infantile paralysis, I had softening of the bones. God, I had it. Poor Dad. But he had a lot of money in those days, and he could hire people to take care of me. So I came into the right family to go through this cleanup period. And some of the stuff has still stayed with me, weakened my body a little bit. You take a newborn child, it vibrates within the rate of a 7-note scale, and it vibrates very close to your note, Mom and Dad's note. Very close. And for 3.5 years, they will be tuned to Mom and Dad. After the 3.5 years, they're going to start changing. And there's no way you can stop it. At the year 7, they're going to take on a complete new personality. Just watch them. They're going to take on their own character. And they bring it with them. So, Mom and Dad, it's not your fault that they come in as Buddhists. They come in with their own light, their own blessed, beautiful consciousness. There are many whose minds are quickened and develop the ability to manipulate material things. Yes, thank God they are. Because look at all the wonderful things that have been created in America. Fantastic. And I see people denying themselves these things. That's crazy. Absolutely insane. You can't have Jesus unless you give. And of course you know who you're going to give to. Well, if you want to give a little to somebody, go ahead. That show magnificent obsession. You should look at it. You should see it. In the Bible it says, don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. That show on magnificent obsession brings it out, shows you how to do it. Well, it is time for me to, and I didn't get through. Well, we'll see you at the retreat.